until the stage will be empty, I'll take my time to grab the board and welcome you in this place. Thank you for coming. As you guys can see, we are still working on being more and more professional, if you will. We'll get there one of these days. But the reason we are doing all this is not to become more professional, but to become better for God. So have patience with us. Things might not go so smooth as we would like to, but at the end of the day, I do believe that it's going to be awesome. I was telling my wife this morning, we had such an agitated day. We were so agitated. It just feels like an agitated day. And I told my wife, this is going to be an awesome day. Extreme faith. And that's awesome. At least it's awesome for me. I'm not going to go too much backwards. But for the past 4 Sundays, we just talked about faith. And even though I said that this might be the last chapter, if you will, in faith, I honestly believe that we just scratched the surface of when it comes to talk about faith. I mean, this is something that you can preach forever and you won't be done with it. But we walked through the basics of faith, and we've seen where faith should be and how it should be, and we've seen how you can fail if you don't have the right kind of faith, or your faith in the wrong direction, if you will. And it's been good. It's been good. It's been amazing because I've learned a lot. But today, by the grace of God, I want us to talk about extreme faith. And the Bible, it's full of it. I only took a few examples, more of a reminder, if you will. I believe that most of the stories that I'm going to bring up, most of you will know them. But it is good to have our mind refreshed, if you will, and to see the results of an extreme type of faith. That type of faith that when there is no more faith, you still have faith in something. And when there is no more hope, you still want to hope in something. And with that in mind, I don't want to start without praying first. And if you indulge me to stand on our feet as I'm going to pray before we start this. It's going to be an awesome day, as I said. First of all, because we are in God's presence and we have the opportunity to learn a bit more about God. That's the first. Second, we're going to have communion, and that's just awesome. To be part of the body of Christ is just amazing. It's amazing to be part of this covenant of grace. I mean, there's nothing better than that. And at the end of the day, I would like us to take a few minutes and pray for this country. I mean, you look on the map and you see what goes on in Florida, and it just breaks your heart. Last night, after my whole family ate, I finally got to the table to eat, and I was trying to eat, and I felt so guilty. I felt so guilty that I was safe and I could enjoy my food, and I remembered the picture my wife showed me with these thousands and thousands of cars just trying to run away. And I was talking with her, and can you imagine what it means to leave everything behind? And you know that once you left, you're going to go back and everything is going to be just wiped off. Against all the odds of what the news says, I still believe that our God can speak peace to all the hurricanes and all the whatever names they gave them. God can set it in peace, and God can come in and protect and help. And that's why I would like us to pray for that at the end of the day. But for now, Father, thank you for this day. I want to say thank you for every person that decided to come here. It's not about us, it's about you, Lord. It's about knowing you better. It's about getting to that faith that you have called us. A faith that we can live a happy life, a blessed life, a good life with you. And when life comes and throws all kind of crazy stuff at us, we can find hope and faith in you. And Father, as we're going to go into your word, Father, I pray that you will speak to us. I pray that you will speak to our situations, to our problems. We all have our craziness. I know we don't want to admit it, but we all have our craziness. We all have our things hidden in our problems, and sometimes we do so well hiding them. Father, today we want to learn how to deal with our problems, and how to deal with the situations that sometimes it seems like there is no answer to it, there is no result to it. It just feels like this concrete wall before us. But I believe that today you're going to show us how to break down this wall and move on into your promises. Father, we want to invite you in this place. Come and take control. Come and speak. For we are here to listen. In Jesus' name, amen. You may be seated in the presence of God. As I said, to me the Bible, first of all, it's a book of history. Period. It's a book of history, and if you go in the Old Testament, you see a lot of history, and you see a lot of situations that happened, and though there still is a debate if Christians should live by the Old Testament or not, aside all this debating over yes or no, I know we have the Old Testament to see peoples which have failed or not. So basically, based on their lives, we can look, we can learn, and we can see how we can do better. And as I said, extreme faith. In order to be extreme, in my point of view, it needs to step out of the natural, out of the normal. Okay? If you have faith that God will provide for you today, and there is so much of a chance that somebody will come and will give you a hand or is going to help you, and God answered. But I'm talking about a type of faith. For example, I'm not sure if Johnny will be able to put it for us on the screen. In the book of Daniel, chapter 3, I'm going to read for you guys from verse 14 all the way to verse 17. Now, I have the King James Bible. I'm not sure if I told you. I read the King James Bible just because Paul and Peter were reading the same version. I'm just going to stick to it. I'm just kidding. I just like King James. But anyway, Nebuchadnezzar, which was a king, spake and said unto them, this is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now, if ye be ready, at what time you hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, and all kind of music, you shall bow down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if you worship not, you shall be cast the same hour in the midst of the burning furnace. And who is the God that shall deliver you out of my hands? Who is the God? Who is the God that will deliver you? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer this matter. We are not careful. It's kind of like, I'm not going to bother laying out politely. We're not going to care to answer this matter. If it be so, our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. But if not, somebody was saying that faith should be this faith without any doubt. And when I read this, it was interesting because they say, but if not, so it might have been a bit of a doubt. If not, know unto thee, O king, thou will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which hast thou set. And if we go all the way down these verses, we're going to see that they did not worship, and he basically threw them into the fire. Now, when he threw them in the fire, basically says in verse 22, therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire slew the men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That thing was so hot that even the guys who threw them in fire died. That thing was hot. And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the midst of the burning fire. Then the king Nebuchadnezzar was astonished and rose up in the haste and speak, and said to his counselor, did we not cast and bound into the fire 3 people? And they answered, true, O king. He answered and said, lo, I see 4 men, loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Nebuchadnezzar was a pagan. I'm not sure exactly what he came to this revelation, saying that the 4th guy who he saw in the fire looked like the Son of God. Many of the biblical teachers, and I believe the same, that was Jesus right there. But I'm talking about this extreme type of faith. In this case, was about worshiping a foreign god to which the Jews were not accustomed to, and some of the Jews did worship idols and follow foreign gods, if you will. But in this case, these 3 young men decided that they would not go that route, and that they have a God that they will serve only, and no matter what, they want to hold their ground. And as they said, but even if not, it's quite interesting, I might say. It's easy to serve God and expect to be delivered out of your situation, whatever that might be. And we want to serve, and we want to do what we do with the expectation of being delivered. But what if we will not be delivered? What if He's going to allow you to go through whatever you go? Not that He doesn't care, but just because He's God and He can decide otherwise. But even if He will not deliver us, we will not bow down to your God. That's an extreme faith. I don't know about you people, but for me, to see that thing, it's fire, no? Call it how you want, it's fire, it's way hotter than California. And you're given this option, either that or either that. And to still have the power to say, no, I'll hold my ground. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I read stuff like that, it makes me think to what level of faith am I at. And now, in the Old Testament, there are so many examples of peoples who have decided to trust God, and you can see the supernatural stepping in, and that's just crazy faith. You want to call it however you want. It's just crazy faith. I'm going to go in the New Testament now and show us a few nice things, and one of them, which I've already read about, but we're going to go back to it just because it's awesome. In Matthew chapter 14. Matthew chapter 14. He might just be the... well, actually, he's not the first. He's the second guy who walked on water. Jesus was the first. But in Matthew chapter 14, we have this dialogue. You have Peter in the boat, in quite of a secure place, if you will, and they saw somebody walking on water. And that was Jesus. So he sent them afar, and basically says that, from verse 26, and when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, "It is a spirit." And they cried out of fear. I assume they were screaming like ladies. I'm just saying, they're seeing somebody walking on water in the middle of the night. That's something unclean right there. Anyways, but straight away Jesus spake unto them, saying, "Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid." And Peter answered him and said, "Lord, if it be thou, bid me or call me unto thee on water." That's kind of crazy. But that's why we're talking about extreme. If you are, call me on water. And Jesus said, "Come." And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water and go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and he began to sink. He cried, saying, "Lord, save me." And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand. He caught him and said unto him, "O thou of little faith, why did you doubt?" Many people have preached for probably tens of years about Peter walking on water. And I've preached about it quite a lot of times. And I always paid attention to this, to verse 30. But when Peter saw the wind, he was afraid and he began to drown. Now, I don't know about you, Have you ever thought about this? Why on earth would you be afraid of the wind and the waves when you were not supposed to walk on water, not even on a sunny day? I've read that for many times. And just recently, as I prayed about it, I said, God, what am I missing? And God revealed that to me, which is very basic, but I just didn't see it. Like, why would you be afraid of the wind? It could be a perfectly sunny day, and you're not supposed to walk on water, period. Why would you be afraid in the first place? But it's an extreme type of faith. A faith that you can only experience God when you leave behind whatever you want to call rational and intellect, and just act crazy and just say, God, call me and I'll come. I don't need to understand it. In the book of Matthew, chapter 8, we have this centurion guy. Basically, and I started from verse 5. And when Jesus was entered into Capernaum, there came unto him a centurion, beseeching him and saying, Lord, my servant layeth at home sick, of palsy, grievously tormented. And Jesus said to him, I will come and heal him. That was a quick response right there. I'll come and heal him. But the centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that you would come under my roof, but speak a word only, and my servant shall be healed. Now watch this. This is a guy who has nothing to do with religion, but he understood what it means to have power. And for some reason, a centurion was one of those high-level commanders, if you will. And when he saw Jesus, he saw authority right there. He saw power, and he said, no, you don't need to come. Just say a word. And then he explains, for I am a man under authority, having soldier under me, and I say to this man, go, and he goeth, and to another, come, and he cometh, and to my servant, do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard, he marveled. Can you imagine? You have Jesus, the Son of God, is like, wow, this guy knows something. Jesus marveled and said to them that followed him, verily I say unto you, I have not found such great faith, not in Israel. Can you imagine that? There were a lot of people. At this point, this guy had such a faith that the disciples were just babies. Jesus said, I did not see such faith in Israel. And I say unto you that many shall come from the east and from the west, and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast down to outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of the teeth. And Jesus said unto the centurion, go thy way, and as thou hast believed, so be it done unto thee. Go your way. And basically saying, the way you said it, the way you believe it, may it come true the way you said it. Very simple. And interesting, because the Bible states, and his servant was healed in the same hour. So basically, when Jesus told the centurion to go, in the same time, his servant was healed. But it stood to me for years. His response was so simple. Just say the word. And I dare you, I'm not sure what goes on in your life, and I'm not sure what situations you're dealing with, but have that extreme faith. Call it extreme. And when you want something, I dare you to move from, and I've seen this so often, I'm not sure how much is known into the American culture. I'm Romanian, and unfortunately, in our traditional church, people don't pray. People go to church and beg. Oh Lord, can you please have mercy? God did not send His Son to build up a kingdom of beggars. I don't want to be offensive to nobody, but God did not call us to be beggars. In the book of Romans 8, He says, with Christ, how much more will He give you all things? I mean, I'm not sure about you. I'm not that good with English, but to me the word all excludes nothing. I mean, it just says all things. And of course, that applies that when your heart is in the right place, you will always ask for the right things. I mean, please, don't ask that God will kill the neighbor because you just don't like his face. Ain't going to happen. You're going to find him there. You can pray as much as you want. But when your heart is in the right place, He's willing to give us all things. And it's amazing that this guy, as I said, he had no religion background. He was a Roman. He didn't understand about the... I assume this... well, he might have been exposed to some of the Judaic teachings because he was in their midst, but he wasn't a church-going person. He just saw Christ. He understood that for some reason that guy has power. And he just went to me, just say a word. It's so simple, and yet we have the gift. I always call it a gift. We have the gift of making things more complicated, if you will. We can complicate things so bad. One more example. And in the book of Mark, chapter 5, we have a woman. Now, I didn't plan to do this, but at this point, if you will, all the ladies, this is your time to get some courage. Mark 5, I'm going to start from verse 25. And a certain woman, which had an issue of blood 12 years, and suffered many things, many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing better, but rather grew worse. Now, I think so. Nothing can be more bothering than spending your money with doctors only to get worse. I mean, it's one thing when you see that you have a problem, I don't know, whatever that might be, and you see that the problem at least stagnates, it just stays there, but when it gets worse, it's kind of annoying. I don't know about you, but I would be quite disappointed. And she had heard of Jesus, came in, pressed behind, and touched his garment. For she said, if I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. Can you imagine that?